Hello, everybody. Welcome to Soccer Talk live again here with Laurent Cortines. My name is Chris Rodriguez.
Órale.
We have a lot to talk about, man. We are live here again. Again, let me put in the plug because we got to do that. Of course, the show is brought to you by topfcnews.com. We are live again on the website, and of course, you can listen or watch these shows on demand either on the website or all your favorite listening platforms. Again, visit topfcnews.com. Laurent, you been watching the World Cup, man? Please say
Not
yes.
as much as I'd like to. Not as much as I'd like to, but I've been following along, making sure I stay abreast of what's going on. No pun intended. That was awful.
Oh yeah, that was awful. I'm sure we're gonna have some feminists blowing up.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Well, someone will get mad. But yeah, I've been enjoying it, and like we said earlier, it's important to watch. It's important to cover football. We had somewhat of an upset with Jamaica getting a draw versus France since the last time we had a show. But everything else, the Germans and Brazil did well. So things are getting a little bit chalky, but I think there's still some movement, some idea that bigger things are happening. We did have our friends from Italy play. Germany, like I said, they stomped Morocco.
Yeah, man.
Brazil beat Panama.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow's games, we're going to have Colombia versus Korea, best supported team outside of the local teams. New Zealand will play again. They'll have a good one against the Philippines, and then Switzerland and Norway. Big game for Norway. If Norway loses this, they're really in trouble. But Switzerland had already beat the Philippines. So,
man, like, don't you see though? Are you not like? Are you seeing that Germany, and then you got the U.S. and then England, which I didn't think England did as good.
They were not very good. Yeah, England were but then again, disappointing result, honestly.
Yeah, but Germany annihilating their rivals, and
Morocco,
the U.S., which you expected. Actually, in the beginning of the game, I was like, it doesn't seem like this is going. I know that we scored and everything, so that was like almost respectfully something that it was given. I hate for any Vietnamese people to listen to this and be mad, but the U.S. is better than
okay.
them.
I think they accept it. I think their coach literally said, "Hey, we just want to be here hard, have a come out of this game respected."
Yeah, and I mean, I think in the beginning they did all right, but of course, it's so much you can handle really on these games when they go a long way, and the girls did good. Even though, again, I don't think that the U.S. played as good as I thought they were going to play. England for sure. So clips
England
of it
actually was bad.
Yeah, and I think that the most the perfect game all around was for Germany today, of course, against Morocco again. But however, I watched the highlights, and Morocco had some opportunities to try to help their cause. I don't know if they would have came back and won the game, but could have done some things. And of course, like you said, Italy beating Argentina. Oh, I think at the last minute, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was on 87, correct?
Yeah,
and but that was an unwatchable game.
As well.
Only 4 shots on target. Only 5 shots on target for the whole game. Possession kind of even. This was very much what you'd expect from Italy, Argentina if it were on the men's side. Very tactical, very kicking each other. Very much a tough game to watch, and these two teams are not teams that anyone would say are in the top echelon. They're both teams that we want to be better, and I think will get better over time as they kind of think about their national teams, think about their national programs, and try and push themselves forward. Because Germany, we know, has been good for a long time. They have Wolfsburg were in a Champions League final. So we know Alexandra Pop was in that Champions League final, scored the first 2 goals against Barcelona. And we know she's one of the great footballers in Europe, in the world. Alex Pop is just a killer. So she's fantastic. And they put the hurt on Morocco. And then I don't know what we're supposed to find out against Panama versus Brazil. Brazil, 32 shots.
Marta.
70. I know, but 72% possession. Marta did not have a goal, shockingly. It was all Ari Borges with the hat trick, and they really just beat them really badly. So I'm not sure what they learn
But
from that game.
But do you realize
But you got to do it?
I mean, like, you notice that the good teams are playing teams that are really modest, and of course doing what they're supposed to do, which is winning. But there is still an inequality with the quality, non pun intended, of the games. You know,
Well, they expanded it, right? So this is expected. They added another 4 or 8 teams. This is the first year that of the expansion. So a lot of teams are getting their first shot at it. Normally, you have much more quality even in the early stages, and the women is what there weren't as many teams. But I think, like I said, better to have participation. Some people don't agree with that. They want to go days. They want World Cups of 16 teams. They want Women's World Cups that start at the quarterfinal. I don't agree with that. Just, yes, I understand we have 2 years of qualifying, but sometimes, it's good to just be in the bigger stage. Teams need to grow. Football, whatever we're calling it, soccer or football or soccer football, el fútbol, is a sport that you need to play against good teams to know where you are.
Right.
And if we don't allow your Oceania teams or your African teams to have extra slots to play against big sides, they'll never get better, and things won't improve. So I'm for a bigger World Cup.
All right. So tomorrow, so they say today, depends on how you Colombia, South Korea, then you got which Colombia, we'll see about that. I'm speaking on Central Time, U.S. Tomorrow, which is today at midnight, 30 after midnight, New Zealand and Philippines, and that that's kind of an even match, I think. And Switzerland with Norway again.
That's the big one. That's the big one that's going on. I think that
you got your girl. What's her name? I forgot her name, man. She plays for West Ham. West Ham. I mean,
I don't know her name either.
No, she's famous. You know her name. She's really famous. I mean,
is she that a fly girl or something?
She is famous, for her soccer skills, but also she is.
Her looks. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she's got good looks, and she's gone viral many times, and of course, she earns a lot of money on Instagram.
I see Ramona Bachmann.
No, my goodness, I can't believe
Leah Watil.
I forgot her name.
I don't know. It's okay.
It's okay.
It happens.
Regardless, we're supposed to be talking about football, not anything else.
Oh, from Aston Villa. Oh, Alicia Lerman.
Aston Villa, not West Ham. Yeah.
Okay.
Alicia. Yeah.
Okay.
Lerman. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways.
Well, they are claret and blue. Fair enough to have that happen. So it happens.
Yeah. Okay. So
there's a lot of them.
That's what's happening right now at the Women's World Cup. We'll see what happens with the U.S. team. Of course,
I think our next game, the U.S. are our next game.
Yeah.
Our next game is against the Netherlands, which is a game because they are former European champions. They won before England won, so they're good. They have skill. They can do a lot, but they are missing Vivian Niedesma. And she's, one of the great female footballers of the world. Again, lost to those ACLs. There is a rash. This is one thing that I wanted to discuss, but we don't have to do it now. But just women football players just getting more ACLs as a rate more than men, almost 3x as often. And I wondered if it was the way we train women, whether the physios are super used to training male footballers or whatever. But women get ACL injuries more than men. Can't figure out what it is yet, but. Well, I mean, one thing could be just the idea of, the shape. You have the hips that are wider. Is it that angle of your knee onto the ground, just repeating it and running it? I don't know. Is it the straight lines of men versus the curves of women? It could be a physiological thing. I have no idea.
The potency of the game, too, maybe that's, but we'll see.
Or the way they train, right? That's the other one that I think about is like if all the trainers are used to training men,
right,
and they just need to do a subtle tweak to handle the physiology of women that makes it different. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have some sad news for football world, especially European and of course English football as
Yeah,
Trevor Francis passes away at 69. Legendary
very young
player.
man.
Yeah.
Very famous. So I knew about this player because I was very interested in the Nottingham Forest winning the European Cup in 78 and 79. That's what Brian Clough, if you've watched Damned United or anything about Brian Clough or anything about Nottingham Forest, Trevor Francis becomes a figure in that event because if you don't know the story of Nottingham Forest, they get promoted to the Premier League from the second division, win the first division, and after they win the division, they win the European Cup. After they win that cup, Francis is purchased from Birmingham City, which is his boyhood club. He's the first £1 million player. And it segues great into our next conversation about Mbappe. So just to give you context, 1979, a player costs $1 million.
Wow.
And Francis goes on to win 2 European Cups when there was no transfer window. You could just move whenever. He doesn't really live up to his potential ultimately very often, especially in that era. Good as a young player, really, really good. But doesn't in his 30s kind of gets injured and they don't want to pay millions of dollars for an injured player. But he is one of the few English players who goes to play to Sampdoria. He does play all around the world. One thing that's super interesting for American fans, if you're old school NASL, he does play in Detroit and is the second leading scorer in NASL history behind Pele in 20 fewer games. So this is a guy who played in the U.S., played around the world. Yeah, he was on loan from Nottingham Forest and would play in the spring in Detroit, which is just a crazy thing on turf. So maybe that's why his knee went. Maybe don't loan him to a team that plays on turf. But again, it's the 70s. Guys were drinking and smoking at halftime. So
they were
just
doing
to give you
all
a sense.
They were doing.
He did score 300 goals in his career. So for England, it's a big deal. For lower divisions, for people of a certain era, he means something. He's kind of that era of hooliganism, of when football was, when Sunday comes. I'm very into football culture. So he holds a big place there. He was a manager, last managed Crystal Palace in I think 2003 and Sheffield. So just part of the English fabric of football. And we pay our respects to Trevor Francis. Did play, I think, 50 caps for England. So, but when England, shockingly, used to not make tournaments, that's how bad they felt. They missed the World Cup. they
was he part of the team that won the World Cup or no? Or maybe it was
no, he's not. He's older. This is he would have been
he's
that's
older.
The 66 team. No, sorry, he's younger. So younger than that group. Yeah. He's played in the 70s and 80s.
All right. Well,
but his heyday is like 74 to like 77. He scored 20 goals a year when guys played in the mud. Just a famous goal in the European Cup against Malmo for Nottingham Forest. It's a cross. He's very famous. It opened match of the day for many, many years. A stooped header that he puts in. So he lives on. He's like he's just like in the opening scene. Yeah, old school.
All these guys do.
Anyway,
all right. Well, rest in peace. Yeah. All right. So next subject is, of course, the day and a world record 300 million euro bid made and accepted for Kylian Mbappe.
1 million versus 300 million.
300 million and 259 million pounds, however you want to look at it. I don't know in dollars.
Yes.
Regardless, it is a ridiculous amount. But not only that, that they're offering him over 700 million euros for 1 year in Hilal. And I don't understand why 1 year, but
I don't understand how this works at all. It doesn't even make any sense. Honestly.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that, like, there's a lot of reasons of why you should. I mean, we know Saudi Arabia don't get along with Qatar, but at the end of the day, this is business.
That's the one that just is like, this doesn't make sense. How does this even work?
At the end of the day, this is business. I mean, they're willing to also listen to Real Madrid, which they don't get along at all. But this is more than football, of course, and I get that. But at the end of the day, if they don't do something now, he'll walk free. In 300 million, and that's way more than what they would have, hoped for from Real Madrid. So it is pretty crazy, and I'm gonna tell you this. And then I'll hear your take on it. But if there's one guy that will probably do it and accept it, is him. I mean, even though he wants to go to Real Madrid, but if you're telling me I'm only going for 1 year, you're paying me all this, and I'm free and I can go to Real Madrid. I'm telling you, man, I don't know if he'll say no. That's a lot of money. This is a 1.1 billion operation.
I hear what we're saying. There's just some things that don't pass the smell test for me. One is that first step so let's break it down. And one is that first piece of just like, hey, this Qatar and Saudi as partners and mixing on this. These are countries that they literally call this the Arab Cold War. I mean, this is serious. This is not a joke. They fight about everything from broadcast rights, people stealing shows that they buy, to BN, to Al Jazeera. There's a lot of stuff going on, support of Yemeni war. So there's a political piece to this. I don't claim to understand all of it. All I'm saying is it's got to be taken into effect of just like Qatar owns PSG and PIF owns several teams within the Saudi league. So that's one piece. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Two is the second piece is there's no agreed terms from Mbappe. Mbappe has not even talked to the Arab teams yet. This is PSG reportedly saying yes to this money, right? So PSG is saying, yes, give me money. And we have a contract. Right. They have the contract, but now there's the next piece, which is the personal rights. 3, usually it's done the other way around. You sign the player then goes to the team and says, please let me move. I have a contract. That tears up the contract with the team. You move on and you increase the money from wherever. So right now, Al Hilal basically has purchased or is trying to purchase the contract from PSG. That contract is the $1 million, is the 1-year contract that he has today. And then they're saying, when you come, we will tear up your 1 year and you will sign a 5-year deal for whatever, or 1 year or whatever, right? Because this makes no sense unless Mbappe is going to sign a multi-year deal. Otherwise, why would you do it?
Well, I mean, they have the money to just say, screw it. We're going to gain all this money in 1 year of marketing. It's going to grow our league. I mean, it could have some reasons, and also the fact that they have the money to just spend it / throw it away. I mean, they do. I mean, they're worth 500 billion, or something around that figure. But so, I mean, I don't think any other club in the world could do this, honestly, or could afford.
No league in the world right now could do this. It doesn't feel real. I guess, in some sense, the other clubs around Europe are probably going, this is how it feels, Premier League, when you guys start flexing and throwing $100 million contracts around. You like how it feels? This sucks. Right? So there's that, right? This is the year of the Saudi, and we have to find out whether this is real or not. We had this for a few years with China when she said he was interested in making football the biggest sport in China, and it didn't quite work because the league was corrupt. Fundamentally, they would throw matches, guys would throw games. It was bad, and they had to close it down. And the betting and then COVID was a disaster, and no one could get out of there. So we have that precedent, and then we have this first time with the Saudi league, and putting Mbappe would do a couple of things that I think about, which is it destroys Mbappe's young part of his career legacy, right? He's not in the Champions League. He doesn't get to go in the footsteps of Ronaldo. He doesn't go in the footsteps of Messi. He's of the Champions League. He's in a completely another league that is not connected to Europe at all. And that will be a minimum of a year. Okay, so that's that. Is he willing to do that at 24 years old with a shirt sponsorship from Nike that he has a personal sponsorship? Is that market big enough? Can the Saudi Arabia be like, no, we can market you globally. No, we can do this globally, when we already know that UEFA and what's happened at PSG with Brand Jordan, we already know that that's there. We already know the power of the Premier League. We already know the power of Real Madrid, what they can do in terms of lifting a player up, lifting up a league. This is really a moment, and I think this is probably the more interesting piece about it from a business perspective, or the way I think about it, is this is a moment to think about whether player brands are more powerful than league brands. This is an inflection point. Like, I think this is the moment, right? Like, Ronaldo was washed up. Benzema was never that big of a individual national brand. This will be a moment that we can go, can an individual player really change a league? This will be Beckham to MLS at a bigger scale.
Yeah, I mean, probably more. I mean, it's unprecedented of a player this in his prime going
young
to
and this good. Yeah,
minor league. I mean, you're talking about probably
more than minor. This is This is nothing. It's a backwater.
Yeah. I mean, you have Ronaldo and Mbappe. I guess you have Benzema, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is like the faces of your league, and I just don't know that it certainly wouldn't be good for his career. But if it's just 1 year, I mean,
that's different. I hear you. If it's just 1 year, fine.
I don't think he would sign a longer contract. And, the reason why he's not going to Real Madrid at this moment is simply, well, not just that reason, but one of the
Real Madrid doesn't want to pay.
And he doesn't want to leave $250 million on the table, which is what he's going to earn at the end of next season as a free agent. And if you offer him twice and more, I mean, I just don't actually. I just don't know how he says no. If that's because he is influenced by his mom, who represents him. I know that somebody
and his
disagrees
dad.
with
Yeah,
that.
it's a big family thing. I think the question is, the other question is like, at this point, the money matters, and it's an insane amount of money, but it's really hard to walk away from there's like 7 levels of branding, right? To move out of brand Europe, out of brand Real Madrid, out of brand UEFA, out of brand Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's really exiting the known, for lack of a better word, the known football world. Like, this becomes a referendum on what does it mean? Can Europe, and I know this sounds existential and I'm going to sound crazy. Can Europe survive as a football center if this happens in the long run?
Honestly,
these are big brand questions, right? Like, what does it really mean? Like, on the existential big level. I mean, I know I'm crazy, but this is
I mean, it is it is true though, because a lot like UEFA is going to have some meetings if this happens, because there was never a competition when it comes to world
like
football.
This. No,
and honestly, there still isn't if you're talking about quality, but money is a big thing. And when you talk about this,
and they're all corrupt, right? We're talking about a level of corruption that world football has that is just, and so that is beyond. I mean, beyond our comprehension. Right?
They do lose money if Mbappe goes to
if he's not in the Champions League, this is bad.
This is really bad. I mean, it really is. So, I mean, I've heard another article. I read it, and they said that a lot of the people that were going to see PSG in Korea, I think, they're not going because PSG is not taking them. So it's incredible. A lot of people from Africa now are really fans of Mbappe because his dad is from Cameroon, and of course, he's becoming a global icon. So it is a big deal if this happens. I mean, if it's just for 1 year, I could see this happening. At the end of the day, Real Madrid knows that
it's a lot of money.
Real Madrid knows that worst comes, the worst scenario is that he doesn't join this year, and that was going to happen anyway. So as long as he stays within that 1 year, then I think Real Madrid wouldn't worry about it. But it's hard to see Al Hilal to just give that kind of money without making it a long term.
Yeah, Chris, what I think about those, like the bigger thing, this is all like this is all like the last 4 years really culminating in is it a real shift away from Europe and to the Middle East, right? We've seen all this money. We've seen Abu Dhabi. We've seen the World Cup. We've seen Emirates on every third team's shirt. We've seen Fly Abu Dhabi. We've seen Manchester City. We've seen PSG. We've seen all these things sort of like pushing and pressing on Europe. Is this the final moment where you had this sort of system where things were kind of like, oh, it's nice, we'll take your money, we'll take your money, we'll take your money, we'll take your money, ha ha ha, aren't you clowns? And now the Saudis and the Arabs and the Qataris and all these groups are like, you know what? We're taking your players now. We're going to take your leagues. So this is one of these, you know, it almost gets into like a business perspective, just like, is this a moment where there's a tipping point and England and Europe sort of decline, which they have been. I mean, that's not some crazy debate where it really matters. And then you think about something like the Bundesliga, where they've really protected their clubs internally and been insular, and it's protected their players from these kind of raids so far. Like, I haven't heard of one player from the Bundesliga going to Saudi Arabia. Not one. Not.
Well, Saudi Mane could be joining, but
right. But that's one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hardly any from Italy. Like, it's really just like we're going after the. But do these leagues then put up moats and try and protect themselves, or is it too late? Right, by letting Newcastle and the PIF into that ownership group, they already let the moat down, or there is no way to put the moat back up.
Actually, I think Real Madrid has tried to do something with Vinicius, like it's called the anti-Saudi or anti, Middle East rule thing. Is that really just set up a big exit clause? I think it's in the
$1 billion.
I think it's pretty high, Vinicius exit thing, and I mean, it could happen, for these big stars, but at the end of the day, I don't know that you can, because the bigger the exit clause, the more you got to pay the player. So I don't know that clubs like Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona, I don't know if they can pay the amount of money for these for these contracts. So it's big, man.
There's one other thing that I think this is a referendum, whatever. What is the strength of the brands of the leagues? We know the Premier League is a strong brand, right? Like, the Premier League has only recently has become the best football league in the world, really. It's only the last 5 to 10 years since Manchester City's money came in. But like, even while Real and Italy was a better league, and while La Liga, while you had the Cristiano and Messi wars that were propping up La Liga, and Villarreal and Valencia was winning the Europa League, and England and the English teams were doing really badly in Europe, and Leicester won the league. The Premier League as a brand is stronger than any individual player or any individual team.
True.
And so this is the question of just like, when it comes down to TV ratings, when it comes down to things like that, can the Premier League survive essentially without real stars? Because it has star brands, right? Like, Liverpool is a star brand. Manchester United is a star brand. Arsenal is a star brand. Tottenham, these are big branded teams that are bigger than any one player. And I think that's really the question. We're in this conflict state of, are players bigger than teams? Are players bigger than leagues? Are leagues bigger than teams? Which one is going to win this war? I mean, we've seen it in the U.S. with basketball. The players are bigger than the teams, for sure. We've seen it with Cristiano, where he has positioned himself as being bigger than teams. And when he went from Real to Juventus, he took 5 million followers with him. When Messi went from Barca to Inter Miami, he took 5 million followers with him. Like, is that kind of feeling of your team versus players? I know modern fans follow players. That's something that is going on and has been a transition going on for years. And this is really another test case of that. I'm not that way. I follow my team. I don't care who's on the team, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
no, well,
could be in the third division, and I'll watch my team.
And that's the way it should be. Really, teams are bigger than players. Players.
But that isn't the way it is, right? Younger people aren't that way in general.
Well, I mean, it like, I think the only time I've seen this, like just Real Madrid, we're talking about Real Madrid in part, is with Mbappe. Previously, I mean, they let Cristiano Ronaldo go and say, we can't pay you, so you're just going to have to go. So this is kind of weird, and fans are saying, a lot of them were upset that he stayed with PSG and don't want him. or if some of them say if he's going to come, then he can come for free. We're not paying 100, 200 million for him because of what he did. So a lot of them still have the mentality, although other, maybe younger, like you said, say, hey, let's just pay whatever and have him. You know what I mean? So it should be.
I mean, it's such an interesting modern sports story, because these are these kind of things that are the brands, the players are brands, the individuals are bigger, and it's happening in a lot of different industries. And we're on YouTube, Mr. Beast network, right?
Yeah,
an individual. Is Mbappe the size of a league as an individual player? Now, I'm loath to think that, because football is such a team game that I can't imagine that he's going to have a good time being this super duper star making $700 million, and guys on his team, especially in defense where people don't like to spend money, being some local Saudi player who's making $50,000 a season. Like, that's where it gets confusing. Like Messi having that $50 million contract in MLS, and he's playing with, a guy who is a third string player from Penarol 5 years ago, or Liga MX player who's like on the back end of his career trying to find another check, or again, Laurentowicz and Dax McCarty is going to be playing with Messi. Like, what is going on? Like, how does that work?
Well, these leagues,
so
they rather have the star and then everything else just,
they figure it out
together.
Right,
yeah, exactly. Which, I don't. Again, this wouldn't be a good football decision as far as his career goes, Mbappe's career. But
I don't think he should do it.
Now, just one last thing, Barcelona. A lot of teams are scheduled to to seek Mbappe. Barcelona has a scheduled meeting with Paris PSG tomorrow about him.
No, they don't.
They can't do nothing about it. I don't think they don't have enough money.
They don't have any money
to even compete in this.
Who are we kidding?
But yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
They'd have to sell Gavi, and then maybe they could think about it. That's the only way.
They love their young stars. I don't think.
I know. They'd have to sell Gavi and Balde. They'd have to get rid of all the young players just to get him. And they have that.
Hey,
Barcelona's like 2 years away from being able to do anything.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Hey, did you see Manchester United's new jersey?
I did. It's green. It's throwback to their old.
Is it green?
We
have it on screen.
Yeah,
is it green? I thought it was black. Or actually, I do see the green. I see it on the big screen. On the big screen now. I thought it was black. It kind of I thought it was Juventus at one point in the morning. I saw this, and yeah. I guess you can say it's dark green. I mean,
it's green. It's because there's a version of Manchester United colors that are green. Their original team color, it's green.
Okay, I see right there.
United, the original old school United colors were green. There's a famous Manchester United shirt that was green with tassels. That was so ugly that it became legendary, but it is green. There is an old school color of the original Manchester United team that was green. So that is a color that they do roll out once in a while. It's a little gnarly, in my opinion, but I don't like anything Manchester United. So they can go. If it was good, I would say so. Like Liverpool's home shirt this year is really good. Like I love the dark color with the white collar. So it all shirts are only famous based on what the team does in them, right? Like
exactly.
Right? Like you can't have a shirt can only become interesting and valuable based on the results of the team for that year. We can objectively say, oh, that one's cool, but there are shirts that become cooler because of what happened in them, right? So whether United have a big season and win the league or whatever, do something insane, crazier things have happened, then we can discuss whether this shirt is an important shirt. But until then, it's just another way to get them to sell things for United. And, they're an incredible selling machine. They're just not an incredible winning machine. Not anymore.
All right. Well, I wanted to get your take, your honest take on that.
Yeah, I'm not deep in shirt culture, but I do.
I like shirts, man. I always like to see what the new alternative shirts. Do not mess with the home.
Oh,
shirt.
so what do you think of that Arsenal one, the bright green with the
That's not bad. I mean, I was always used to Arsenal's
yellow that they would wear
the
off.
yellow, the yellow and blue, I think. Yellow and something like that.
Yeah, they would always throw some yellow in there and get weird.
So, but anyways.
Well, I'm just waiting for fashion to go back around and they start wearing the big billowy shirts with the shirts tucked in and they're just flying through the wind
they just
instead
like
of the big shorts where they just like I just could see, like Ryan Giggs and Vieira with the big fucking shirts. And it's huge. Like they just you'd get them and they'd go past your knees. You're like, who thought this was a good idea?
Hey, what do you think about Lionel Messi's debut, man? It was unbelievable.
What a fucking legend! What a legend! I mean, this is a guy who has seen it all, done it all, and coming into MLS, having it be a moment about him. He comes off the bench. It's a last-minute free kick. He's not bothered by this at all. This is just a free kick. You know what I mean? Like he's he's in the moment. He's just like, I'm taking this shot. No big deal. Listen, I got this.
When they fouled him, everybody, I was listening to Spanish, everybody knew it was his moment. And it's like he is just one of the players that is destined to be the hero. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It almost seems like who could have predicted a foul right there at the end of the game? I mean, there's not a better. Man. And then I was like, he's not gonna make it, is he? And boom, and I was like, wow. I mean,
and then no backlift, no run up, just pure class. He's just a legend. He just can do. Again, that shirt now becomes a pink iconic shirt, right? Like, that's a pink shirt. It's weird, but then all the celebrities, LeBron's there, and the Kardashians are there. Everybody. Yeah, Venus is there, and Serena. Just such a cool moment. It becomes an immediate collectible that if you could get a hold of it and sell it on on collections.com or eBay, if you can get a hold of that shirt, that's going to become a shirt. It's a legendary shirt. And he does the freaking handshake the way he does.
Yeah, he always does.
It's a big goal. And what's great about it is just as much as he's done everything, he still enjoys it. He still was fired up. He still got excited. It still matters to him. Like, he's a competitor. He wants to win. It's just something so... There's been a lot of coverage of him lately, and it's just the humbleness, the sort of boringness of him in a way. Like, he just wants to hang with kids. He's with his high school sweetheart. They're just normal. But he happens to be the greatest footballer of all time. And I think that's something about him, that little piece of him that makes him human, that he could be your primo. Like, yeah, that's my weird cousin. He doesn't like to talk to anybody. Wait till you watch him play football. And you're like, what the fuck? What is that?
Yeah, no, I mean,
but that's Messi. Whereas, and I think I juxtapose it to Ronaldo, who's created himself out of whole cloth and worked, and his body is a piece of steel, and he did 4 hours of free kicks, and he did it all, and he's like, everything is measured, and he does the underwear shots, and he's on Instagram, and everything is ordered, and he knows exactly who he wants to be, and he knows exactly where he's going to go. When Messi's done, you'll never see him again. He's going to go to Rosario and disappear.
No, yeah,
he has. You know what I mean?
He'd probably go to Barcelona, instead of Rosario. But no, I mean,
right, because he barely grew up there.
Yeah, I mean, just an incredible player, man. It's unbelievable to have been able to see that moment. Nowadays, it almost seems like you can't watch many. As far as we talk about everything, so you can't watch every single game. And for me, just to capture that, I was like, I feel so lucky. And I was going back and forth with the U.S. women's game, and I was able to catch that, and it's unbelievable. I mean, the stadium erupted. All 10 people in that stadium.
That sound, that special sound, that sound that happens when something amazing happens. It just has a different feel. Like it's that roar. It's Messi scoring a hat trick against Real. And the Madristas cheering for him. It's Ronaldinho. It's that you saw something and you know it, right? You know moment that you witnessed something spectacular. And the funny thing is, that's not even in the top 50 for him. He's done it so many times that we've forgotten a million goals that he's already scored. Like, we ran out of things to say about Messi in 2012. right? Like he took up all the words, he took up everything. The fact that he's now on year 15 or 16, right? He started in 2003, 2004, and now he's almost 20 years in, and he still can deliver moments like that. It's just otherworldly. He's never going to be replaced. There'll never be another Messi. It won't be 40 years or 50 years. Like, I just don't know how it happens.
Yeah, no. I mean, people say that about Maradona. You know, of course, you know, I do believe that Messi is a better player than Maradona. And
I can't with Maradona. It makes me lose my mind. There's no way he's as good as Messi ever, never.
Yeah, no, but you know, there's that debate, and I mean, I always kept this thought, and it could be a subject for another show, but
well, we could save it for another, because I can't. Modern players, we have footage of every single game. Maradona lives in 4 clips. That's all we have. We don't have the footage of him at Boca as a 14-year-old scoring 45 goals. We only have the hand of God. We only have the World Cup. We have a little bit of footage from Napoli, and we play the same ones over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when
every single game of Messi's career.
Yeah, I mean, I think Messi just was a better player, aside from the accolades, because that could be an unfair comparison.
He's not as loved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's not as human, right? He's not the drug addict. He's not the he's not the praying. He doesn't have the saintly figure. He was unknowable because he was so sort of chill and pieced out.
Yeah.
Whereas people can tell stories of Maradona drinking.
Dude, did you see I know you guys shared it on the site, on the site. I mean, on the chat about Shaka. What was his last name?
Shaka Hislop. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did see it.
Passed out.
Yes. What? So that was very upsetting. So I can't even watch
it. Come on, dude. Really, I mean, I don't know what.
No, don't. It's bad.
He just passed out.
It's not funny.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's not at all. But we just want to show the people what we're talking about.
So Shaka, so I do know this because I'm a big ESPN FC watcher. So Shaka Hislop, Premier League player, West Ham, Newcastle, was on the famous Entertainers team in the mid '90s. Played in the MLS in Dallas, and just a generally good guy. Went to the World Cup, Trinidad and Tobago, with Dwight York, famously of Manchester United. So the Boys famously, they made it. That was the pinnacle of his career, really. But he's been on ESPN FC for a long time, and I watch that show every night. I'm one of those people. I'm old school. I watch the regular bad ESPN show that they just basically cover Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, blah 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 blah, ad nauseum over and over again. But that being said, you feel connected to a show if you watch it for a long time, and it has the quality of the TNT Sports with Chuck and Shaq and Ernie, show where the inside jokes of the people who watch the show a long time are what's important. The games, the highlights, that stuff doesn't matter. The analysis is what pundits do, but they're all connected, and you felt in that moment that someone you knew really well happened to him. And I kind of was worried that he had a heart attack, and thankfully there's other video. Please find the video of him saying hello and that he's okay.
Yeah, no, I was trying to look for that, but he did come out.
Yeah, he made there's footage of him delivering a video speech saying kind of embarrassed. I think he's more embarrassed than anything else. I think he probably just got heat stroke and went down. He's in his 50s. It's hot out there. Been flying and going back and forth, and you just fucking keel over. Happened to a friend of mine one time. We were having a party and he just went down, big guy. Nothing ever happened, but it does happen. But it is scary to have that on live TV, just to have a guy go down and see the real panic on the faces of Dan Thomas, who's the main host of the show. And he's a real, they have a good camaraderie, and that shows something I watch every day, if not at least extra time, which I think is funny, where they put in questions and they kind of laugh. So it's a good show. And we're glad that he's not passed away. That would have sucked.
No, yeah, I mean, that would have been horrific. But yeah, I mean,
to have a guy
to
have a guy pass away on the air would be catastrophic.
Yeah, he seems to be doing all right. I mean, I think they're still waiting on really what could have happened. But as far as what he's doing, I think he's doing good, better than yesterday, of
Yeah,
course.
he's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, this heat stroke, I think he just went down.
Hey, which could be really fatal, actually. I mean, a heat stroke, you know, it could be bad. So, you know, but anyways, so Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's targeted by
Yes.
3
What
clubs.
about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain?
He's being targeted by 3 clubs after becoming a free agent. I remember him being, you know, playing Liverpool, being a really I thought he was one of those guys, kind of like Dele Alli, you know, maybe not, maybe didn't have the attention that Dele Alli had, but still one of those
Injuries,
players that I thought, man, he's going to come up and he's going to be a really good for the English national team. And like you said, injuries, but he's only 29. He's my age, only 29. And
I mean, his best years sort of came with Arsenal during those Wenger years when he would give a young guy, give a young guy some burn. Started at 17, came from the Southampton Academy, did a full season at 16 where he played over 2,000 minutes. That just does not happen. Essentially, he had kind of Jude Bellingham season when he was at Birmingham City. Then he gets the move to Arsenal. And that group that was with Wilshere and Diaby and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Rosicky. Arteta was in that group. Arteta was older. He'd come from Everton. They just could never kick on. Like, there was so many young players after Fabregas left that you thought one of them would kick on, and they just never could. They kept on staying in the top 4, but never could kick on. And he made the move to Liverpool. He had the one season where he played all the time. Well, he had a full season. I do remember him because there was a City versus Liverpool game at Anfield where he scored the first goal. It was a screamer. And then he never really was able to play more than 30 games a season. Just got hurt, was part of the Champions team, you know, that COVID team that they won the title. But otherwise never really was able to get back into the team. And now, you know, 5 years on after being at Liverpool, he's 28 years old and he's got to try and find a home to play in. My guess is that he'll go sort of bottom half of the league down, you know, these kind of, maybe he'll go to Luton, maybe he'll go to Burnley, maybe he'll go, you know, to one of the teams that has come up, Sheffield United, you know, one of these places where he can play and really make a difference because the talent is definitely there. I can see him showing up at Everton, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say that actually. Yeah, that could have been a good, even though, well, Liverpool. But Brentford is rumored to trying to seek him. Also, Besiktas from Turkey and an unnamed club in the Saudi Pro League. If he gets an offer from the Saudi Pro League, I'll take him to the airport myself because he needs to make this money. You know, hey,
yes,
you got to be smart, man. If you're somebody that's been injured, take care of it.
Go get the money.
Go get the money now.
Yeah,
because
I agree. Yeah, I mean, but it's a different thing, right? Like if you're a player like Oxlade-Chamberlain, you absolutely should go to the Saudi Pro League, get your check, come back, your career ends, you're fine. That's fine. He's well-spoken. He'd be a pundit, no problem. He could show up on Arsenal Fan TV. They would take him tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, he's just one of those guys, the way Wilshere is, they'll take him back. These clubs have good kind of infrastructure to sort of help their own. But yeah, for him, absolutely
it'd be good. Yeah. All right. Well, the next one is, you were right. And David Silva is nearing retirement. I don't know if you said it on the show or you said it on the chat, but
I said it in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I picked it up from the same story you did. Just that the legend, David Silva.
Yeah, really good guy, man. Really good player. Played it, you know, at match. You know more than me. You know, I think 4-time Premier League champion. Really good,
incredible player.
Yeah,
one of the most underrated players in Premier League history, honestly. Just, you know, and secretly, low key, one of the Spain greats. He's part of the 08, 10, and 12 team that with the 2 Euros and the World Cup. Almost, I think he might have 40 goals for Spain. Like, he's up there in goals for Spain because he's such a sort of, that he would play as a false 9 when Torres wasn't around or Torres wasn't scoring, and he'd play on the left or the right. But what he did for City was he almost played. He was this thing that City players know and or Spanish know. He's a pausa in that he gets a ball and he can slow a game down. The thing that I remember him most is he'd get a ball on the turn and then just touch it around and spin around. He would just on one foot. He had a terrible left foot. He'd play on his right foot was so good he could just play on his right foot. Spin around in a circle. Anytime anything good happened with City, it was because of David Silva. He and Yaya Toure were the ones that really transformed the team, taking control of the midfield. He was always playing out of position because City didn't really play as a 10. He was always playing on the right side or the left side. But wherever you played him, he was just incredible. He was sort of maligned because he couldn't really shoot, or his shot kind of had a lollipop. It was always on target, but you wanted him to really nail it. He just didn't have that in. He just couldn't shoot. But the passing, and if you know hockey at all, I don't think anyone does here, but famously, Gretzky used to hide behind the net, and he would just control the game from behind the net. And David Silva's spot was almost like the hockey spot. He would go to the corner of the box and live in that little space. So you'd have the corner flag, you'd have the 18-yard box, and that space between the line of the 18-yard box and the 6-yard box, he'd live in that space. And you wouldn't understand how the hell he could keep the ball there, but he would just keep the ball there. No one would get to him, and he'd make these sort of linking, crossing passes to cutting runners. Just one of the greats. I think he's in the top 10 in all time in assists. I love him.
Well,
all City fans love him. He's our guy.
He's probably like one of the City legends, I would say.
Yeah, he's got a statue. We've got a statue for him. Yeah, Aguero, company. I don't know that Yaya Toure is going to get a statue.
I love Yaya Toure, man. He's just an incredible.
That's my guy. I love him too.
I love
He's
him.
One of my favorites. He was my first.
I always loved those. He always gave me Patrick Vieira's vibe, and I always loved those big fives or big midfielders that make no sense. That they should be either a center back or a striker.
Well, famously did play him at center back in that Champions League final in 2009.
But anyways, I think the results of the MRI studies revealed that an anterior cruciate,
ACL,
ligament injury.
Yeah, but he's 38. He doesn't want to do the 2 years of rehab. He's hanging out in Real Sociedad. No coincidence that Real Sociedad are having their best seasons ever have been under Silva. He actually replaced Martin Odegaard. They didn't play together at Sociedad, but when Odegaard went to Arsenal, it was David Silva who took his place at the team, just providing goals, doing the same thing he's always done, controlling games from the final third, where you really want to be controlling games where you have possession up top, but you're able to make the pass when a team falls asleep. Just an incredible all-time great. I think his issue was he never spoke English. Ever. Really? I don't think I ever heard him speak, ever. Never. He may have done interviews in Spanish, but I never heard him speak English. 10 years in England, he never spoke English, ever.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know.
That's unheard of. Well, I mean, not really unheard of, but, I mean, you figure people...
Happens all the time.
I know, but clubs, we said it before, man. Clubs need to really get on this. They should. I
think with City, they were just like, I don't care, right? We won't make you do anything. Yeah. They were in that ascendancy. They weren't in a spot to be like, come here. Oh, and you have to learn English and do marketing. City was just happy to have David Silva in the score sheet. Just like, please play. Just El Mago, right? El Chino, right? Those are the other names they call him in Spanish.
Yeah. All right. Well, just to finish up quickly, PSG are in negotiations with Lazio over Leandro Paredes transfer. I figured he would go to a bigger club, but Lazio, okay. I mean, being a World Cup winner, you figure you get
Lazio are in the Champions League. Is that true?
Well, I mean, so is PSG. So, that.
Yeah, but
I mean, of course, Lazio has a better. Better.
I mean, my big issue with Lazio is more of a political one. Famously, a very right-wing leaning.
Yeah.
No, they have been known some salutes that are not known to be done appropriately. So Lazio is a little bit of a. I wouldn't want to play there, just political reasons. But good club. I think I'm just checking right now. Yeah, they were second in Serie A last season, so had a good season. It's not a bad club to go to, I don't think. And I think we malign the Italian league, but I think it's actually quite good. It's super competitive. The last 3 or 4 seasons after Juve shot itself in the foot by continually cheating, the league has had 4 different winners. So it's really just an interesting league right now where the top 4 is up for grabs. You have Atalanta doing really well, Roma with Mourinho, Lazio, Inter, Napoli winning the Scudetto last season. So it's a good league. I think it's just maligned right now because of the governance, right? The stadiums are falling apart. They've not made it a family atmosphere. They're still giving into the ultras who make it basically
it's really
to go to games.
It's kind of same as South American football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of
it has that vibe, right? Where the ultras have taken over the teams and they can't seem to get away from their super hard. When what they need to do is just let them go. Like, you know what? We don't want you here. Yeah. You know what? You can do what you want, but it is a weird symbiotic relationship that I don't know how the Italian leagues get out of it. And it can be done because famously, I don't know if you know this, PSG before the Qatari takeover was a team that was split. One was immigrant and one was like right wing. And it was more that they would fight in the stands against each other, even though they all supported PSG. And when the Qataris took over, it took a few years, but they just got rid of them. They were like, we're not doing this. We want people who visit Paris to say, oh, I want to go to a football game. Oh, I want to go see Zlatan. And we're not going to have freaking, skinheads in the stands driving us crazy. Now, those fans have taken things outside. We know about the supporter groups sort of attacking Messi or sort of saying negative things, but they're now outside. They're not in the grounds anymore. And they've pushed them out and they've grown the brand without them. So that's kind of what Italy needs to do, but I don't know that they have the will to do it.
All right. Well, that was it for this episode. Thank you for watching or listening to Top Football Club live. And we're going to have more news live on Thursday, but it'll get reproduced on Friday as well. We're figuring
for sure.
We're getting it done. But anyways, thank you, Laurent. And Chris.
Hey,
my name is Chris.
Thank you for setting everything up, man. Fantastic.
No, we're good, man. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.